The TMJ and craniocervical junction are two extremely complex joints that are extremely close together and affect each other's function, and thus could contribute to a plethora of health issues if there is dysfunction involved. This paper brings together a functional or neurological or neuromuscular dentist and an upper cervical chiropractor together to take the first step of investigating the effects that aligning the craniocervical junction has on occlusion. Dr. Evans and I discussed the research and more on this episode of the Upper Cervical Chiropractic Research Show. You can find the overview and summary on my YouTube channel. Hi there, I'm Dr. Kevin Leach here with the Chiropractic Deep Dive Podcast, bringing you the most important research and information on conservative primary spine care, upper cervical chiropractic care, and traditional chiropractic care. These research reviews, interviews, and episodes are made for you, whether you're a medical doctor, patient, or concerned family member or friend. The goal of these shows is to bring awareness of the importance of taking care of our spine and the impact it has on our health and the hundreds of different health conditions it could cause without us realizing it. I'm really trying to bring value with these, so I'd appreciate commenting on the videos, hitting the like button, and sharing them with as many people as you can. You never know who might need to see it. And consider subscribing to the channel so you can see all the other episodes and videos coming out. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate your support. Now on to the show. Okay, welcome back everyone to the Upper Cervical Chiropractic Research Show. This is episode number 10. I am Dr. Kevin Leach, and I am here once again with my friend and colleague, Dr. Tyler Evans. How are you, sir?
Good to see you.
Good to see you, sir. So this episode's research review is titled Relationship Between Craniocervical Orientation and Center of Force of Occlusion in Adults by Curtis Westersund, Jeffrey Scholten, and Raymond Turner, and this is published in the Journal of Craniomandibular and Sleep Practice. So the point of this paper is to see if the clinical and anecdotal observations of changes to bite occlusion following NUCA upper cervical chiropractic care can be measured. They found that it can. They also found some interesting and unexpected results. Clinically, the TMJ and the craniocervical junction are two extremely complex joints that are extremely close together, that affect each other's function, and probably a lot more than we realize. So, Dr. Evans, what are your thoughts and understanding? I know you know this paper well. Why don't you give us your overview and thoughts of the paper?
This actually came out of the upper cervical diplomate program that I was involved in. I believe it was Dr. Scholten's case study that he got published here. So I got to give props to Dr. Scholten and Dr. Westersund. Dr. Westersund, as you are familiar, he's came and spoke quite a few times with our upper cervical community. And Dr. Westersund and Dr. Scholten are good friends, and developed that relationship because Dr. Scholten is very good at communicating paraprofessionally and communicating what our message is, which is why you and I are doing this here, is to get the word out about what we do. So this paper is just a good testament to camaraderie in getting patients well, working together between different professions. And it's one of those things that you're like, a dentist? Why would a chiropractor want to work with a dentist? But when you research it, it makes total sense. And so we can get into that. But, I think right off the top, it's just, it's really important for people to know the connection between the neck and the jaw is very integral, and that the teeth are the end of the joint of the neck. So it's kind of a weird thing to think about, but Dr. Scholten showed me this once, but if you think about it, the jaw opens this way, down, like that, or back, like that, on the cervical spine. So it opens from the TM down, or from the neck back, like that. And that when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay. So the center of C1 and C2 are actually the center of the pivot of the movement of the head on the spine, on the jaw, like the jaw and the spine together. Um, so when you think about it, if the jaw's not aligned right, it's going to throw the neck off. And if the neck's not aligned right, it's going to throw the jaw off. And those two areas, part of the craniocervical junction, they influence so much in the brain and the body. So if we get the jaw right, if we get the neck right, we're going to see some good changes, right? So that's why they investigated this. That's why they work together, because they see great benefit in sending patients back and forth. Correct the neck, correct the jaw, correct the neck, correct the jaw.
Right, and it's almost the chicken or the egg, right? Which one comes first? Do you know, just with your involvement with the diplomate program and being around Scholten and Westersund, do they say one more than the other? I believe you said Dr. Westersund, the dentist, said it's possibly coming more from the neck, more issues in the jaw and bite occlusion.
Yeah, I don't want to throw him under the bus, and you know, he's not here to defend himself, but
Right.
I believe that's what he said. Actually, he just posted that the other day, that, you know, all dentists should be, all these what's called a neuromuscular dentist should be working with a chiropractor, or an upper cervical chiropractor, specifically to correct the orientation of the C1, C2, and the skull. So yeah, and that's kind of what this literature suggests as well. But this literature also suggests it can go the other way. So I think what's important to take away from this paper is that there's a connection.
Right.
So we're establishing a connection between upper cervical chiropractic care and neuromuscular dentistry. This is a bridge. This is a bridge paper. Never been done before this paper. So kind of
Let
cool.
me go through a little bit of the details of the paper, tell everybody kind of what they did, and then talk about the results, and again, why there's a little bit of surprising results and also something more to look into. And maybe we can discuss a little bit about that. So they took 11 patients. They measured the bite of the patient before and after getting NUCA care. And they did several before, several after, just to make sure they got, to get more information, more data, less variables. And so what they found is that before and after, they saw a change in posture, and they also saw a change in bite occlusion. And I'm pretty sure the research shows that for the most part, posture improved with the patients in the frontal plane and in the transverse plane, but not in the anterior posterior, which is forward head carriage plane. So posture improved greatly, but then they also saw a lot of change happen in bite occlusion. Some improved and some did not. And so obviously the surprising thing is, why would it not improve? Why would improved posture change the bite for the worse? So so let's address that question. What are your thoughts on that? Why would a corrective procedure that we know can help the body tremendously imbalance the bite afterward?
When you correct the abnormal spinal biomechanics, and this goes to this, or this goes to this, or this goes to
shoulders
this,
off to straight,
right?
neck
You
off
got
to
all
straight,
kind of
head off to
postural
straight.
distortions down in the hips as well. One hip higher than the other balances out better. When you change that much structure, what happens is, and I've seen this in my practice, somebody with a tooth that's not sitting at the same height on one side as the other, if before the body had kind of balanced to that, so the structural misalignment in the spine is off one way because of that jaw problem. Okay, so we've created this created a misalignment in the spine, or it was they all kind of came together, but whatever, what have you. So you've got this problem in the jaw. You correct everything else. Now you got this problem in the teeth. right? How the teeth line up. I've seen this in my practice. If I can just say briefly, real quickly, we really want to avoid taking teeth out of the jaw. And there's a book called Jaws, like the Epic Pandemic or something like that. Look it up. But it's the history of teeth and jaws of humans in society today. And our teeth and our jaws have changed dramatically over the last 100 to 200 years for the worse. There's a lot of evolutionary things that are going on that are not great about, just the way our genes are coming together and smashing jaws back, creating smaller airways, all kinds. This is where the neuromuscular dentists come in. But what I'm saying is, okay, so you've got all these components and you're correcting the spinal biomechanics, but then you're leaving this problem in the jaw and you're not correcting it. So that's where a neuromuscular dentist would come in, because if this is off, I'm talking millimeters, man. It's the same thing in the neck. If the jaw's off by a millimeter or two, you're going to create all kinds of downstream issues from that.
And dentists have known that for decades with bites, right? Knowing not to change the bite because of the periodontal ligament reflexes and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you were talking about an explanation for why balancing the head might shift the jaw, it just popped into my head that obviously if you've had, we tip the head like this, it's obviously an exaggeration, but
totally.
when the posture's off and the jaw's off, either one or both, there's adaptation that's going to happen with the body. The body's going to adapt.
Yep.
It might possibly degenerate in some places in the joints, etc. We get that corrected. That adaptation is not just going to go away. So just think about it this way: if you're over here, your head's over here, and now there's more wear and tear on the right because the joints are closer together. Let's just say, for an example, but then the other side has to compensate for that, so the muscles may be stronger and tighter on the left side because of that adaptation. Now we balance it. That muscle's still going to be stronger. So maybe when it was adapted to a balanced position, getting it aligned, now you bite down in the occlusion and the left side's still stronger. So then it shows that it's imbalanced from left to right. Just, there could be all kinds of adaptive mechanisms in that way. But I think if we think about, again, as holistic, vitalistic providers about restoring normal function in the body, it's like, what can we do for the body to measure dysfunction or imbalance and bring it back to a balance and proper function so that the body can function the way that it was designed to function, in the way that it's meant to function? I think that's the main takeaway, right? Because we talk about, like we see these negative results that, the bite's now more imbalanced. Well, that's what research is for. Let's ask the question of why. Okay, so it's balanced, it's better in one patient. Well, let's not just say, okay, we're done. Okay, well, is there anything else going on? Is that going to be long-term beneficial? Or is there still something in the jaw that needs to be, there's all these questions here. But again, if we look at it in a perspective of restoring normal function, I think that's the best. And I don't know about this book that you mentioned, but there's a book, the neurofunctional, the dentist that I work with told me about a book. It's like 4-foot cage, 6-foot tiger or something like that. Talking about
I've heard of that one.
Lack of development of the jaw, but then you have your tongue. The tongue's got to be in there, but then your jaw's smaller than it should be, right? So, and she's given me several other books and that talk about all of that. All of that development that needs to happen when we're born and when we're breastfed and when we start eating foods. And if our jaw and our face don't develop the way that they should because of those pressures and because of those challenges, then it causes nightmares in the future. I've got patients that you can tell their chin is in and their jaw's small, and then they've got this anterior head carriage and they've got all these issues that aren't their fault. They're just, something happened, whether They could have been injured in their craniocervical junction. They could have taken off of breast milk early. They could have had too soft of foods growing up. Like, it's crazy. There's so much stuff that
There's
our body
dietary
needs.
issues. Yeah, there's so many dietary issues that happen
Right.
with children these days that these dentists are finding. I was like, man, that makes total sense.
Absolutely.
Like, and it is life altering. Literally, you're going to be running into that problem the rest of your life because now you've got an airway that's collapsed. And what does your body do to get more air? Because your brain needs air. It needs blood. It needs nerve flow. And when we correct the CCJ, that's a huge part of that. But so is breath, right? And so your body will compensate. So we're talking about competing compensation factors and which one is bigger, you know?
In this, I believe you share the same sentiments as me, but we talk to our patients that come in and we talk to them about only addressing the upper neck and how that affects the whole body. That's, for a lot of people, that's out there. They don't understand. They don't understand how that could affect the entire body. Now, knowing all of this with the jaw, convincing patients not only that, hey, your upper cervical spine is involved with your health, and they go, okay, yeah, sure, okay, I trust you. Let's give it a shot. Like, I believe you. It makes sense. Let's go for it. But then we go one step forward. Oh, by the way, we got to get your jaw looked at as well.
Yeah.
That may be affecting your, like, you're just going further and further outside of the realm of norm for patients and people in the world. And it's just so sad that so many people don't know all of these important things that it takes to be healthy.
Why is science not looking at this? Why are the researchers not looking at this? When we are chasing prescription, solutions and interventions with surgery or medical procedures, right? Follow the money, totally. But this is what I'm saying. And so this is why we do this podcast. This is why we do the research, because we want to bring that to people, because you and I are stoked on it and we know it. We see it in our practice every day, and we want to share this with the world. But we're tiny. I get billions of dollars in medical research every year, but we're not talking about structural issues that can be corrected by aligning the teeth or by aligning the neck, right?
And the sad thing is, I mean, how many times do you pull up an x-ray of a patient and they've got degeneration, and you know that if they've had proper spinal health care decades ago, they'd be in a much better position. But guess what? Nobody told them. That's one of the saddest things is not only nobody told them, I just got goosebumps, not only nobody told them about the upper cervical spine, they don't know about the jaw. They don't know about the importance of the diet and chewing and things in the developmental stages. And they get to the point in their 20s, 30s, 40s, who knows what, and they're told all this information, and we're like, sorry. Oh, by the way, there's a fraction of people that knew all this stuff, but your medical doctor doesn't know, insurance companies don't know, and by the way, they're not going to pay for it.
And just to iterate, the doctors are the people in the field. The doctors are not the guys that are at fault here. It's academia. We have a real problem with academia in this country, in the U.S. I think in other countries they do a lot of better work, but there's too much money involved in research. And I listened to Bruce Lipton, not to get down a rabbit hole, but I listened to a podcast of Bruce Lipton the other day, and he was a medical researcher at Stanford University, wrote the book Biology of Belief. But he was talking about in the 70s, he was doing research on stem cells, putting them in a medium. He was putting them in a medium, right? And he put them in 3 different mediums, same stem cells. They grew into 3 different things. And he said, why is that? Right? This was back in the 70s. And this was before they knew about epigenetics and what actually determines outcomes, right? And so he's out there screaming at Stanford, like, guys, look, there's more going on than just the gene. We need to look at the environment of
Right.
what makes genes express.
Epigenetics, right?
Epigenetics. And
Yep.
he's talking about it, screaming from the mountaintops. But the money's not there, right? So now the money's starting to come in. Stem cells are huge. Everybody's into it. But that was 50 years ago. 50 years goes by, right?
Yeah.
So, let's get off our horse. But what I would say is, I would never blame doctors in the field, because I don't think that's, that they're downstream from the issue. They're just trying to do the best thing they can. But who we can talk about are insurance companies. We can talk about the pharma. Those situations are a real big problem. They're not looking for solutions as quickly and as effectively as they could. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. Well, and just to bring it round, just back to the research, they've taken the first step to say there is a connection. There's a connection between the TMJ and the upper cervical spine, right? So we know that that addressing the upper cervical spine, the craniocervical junction, does affect the bite, right? So now, again, we all kind of knew that, but now this research shows, and now there can be more research, and now they can even go more into things like TMJ issues, all kinds of stuff, right? So, and I know there's a lot, upper cervical chiropractors, upper cervical chiropractors have helped people with TMJ. It's one of the things that, it's very common that it gets helped, and that could very well be the mechanism, is that we take the stress off of that jaw joint enough so that it can start to function and heal properly, heal and function properly. So, so that's a good first step that the research is done. Any other sort of details or anything about the research that you wanted to go over?
Yeah, I think it's important for people to understand how we can apply this. I think it's a good first step, like you said. And this research has been done. So in the dental world, this is nothing new, right? Like, they know that if you change the jaw, they've been doing splint studies on rats for a long time. So you put a splint in the jaw in a rat, and it immediately, like, literally, there's a handful of these studies. I forget who did them, and I think it was like in the 80s or 90s. But these rats get scoliosis. Those mice get scoliosis when you change the alignment of the jaw, right? So they've known that for a long time. But let's bridge the gap, right? So if we're doing upper cervical chiropractic care and we're seeing changes in the jaw, what's going on there, right? So, it's a first step.
It's one of the things that, this paper is mostly, I think, linking posture to influence of the bite. However, coming from a craniocervical standpoint, as upper cervical chiropractors, I think it would be valid to bring up the potential of, I don't think they talk about this in the paper, but just the fact that cranial nerve number 5 and the muscles of mastication come from the brainstem, and you're correcting that, that question needs to be asked too, is that one of the mechanisms that's changing as well? I know for me personally, I will grind my teeth at night more when I'm out of alignment.
Yep.
Hands down. And so many people, I have several patients who are like, I've been grinding lately. I think I'm out of alignment. It's like, all right, patients are noticing this without any of the dental care.
There is a paper in PubMed by Gary Knudsen, I think in the early 2000s, bruxism in nighttime bruxism in children or something like that, in upper cervical chiropractic care, where he did pre and post and showed a good change in clearing out the grinding, which is bruxism. So that, there's some research, there's some upper cervical research that points to this, but this is the first, this is really, the T-scan is the neuromuscular one of the tools of the neuromuscular dentist's kind of tool bag that they use to tell if what they're doing is working, right? It's one of their, like for us, we do leg checks, we check posture, we take x-rays. They do, they take x-rays, but they do this T-scan, and that really gives them a lot of information about how the teeth are coming together, right? Are they touching here before here? Are they touching at the same time here before here? How's that working out, So we're seeing changes in T-scan. That's pretty cool. I mean, we could use T-scan as a indicator of subluxation possibly in our office, or misalignment in our office. And it's just, cool paper, really interesting.
Yeah, we didn't even mention the T-scan and how that worked, but it's again, it's that occlusion device. It measures
like
force
a bite guard,
of the entire bite, right? But also, is there more on over here than over there? I mean, that's one of the things that it measured as well.
It looks like this. It's kind of a really cool little bite situation. So you see these spikes where there is more pressure being applied, right? So that's kind of how that worked out.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool,
so
cool.
anything else you got? Oh, you wanted to the LVI or something, you wanted to talk about maybe was it ICCMO or the
ICMO. Yeah. So that's, and ICMO is, I'm not heavy in this group, but I know a few of the guys in New England. There's a couple of guys down in Boston that I visited. I think three different offices that I visited, and they were all LVI dentists, but I think that the LVI group has kind of started to split off and split up, but I could be wrong there. But I think if you want to find a good neuromuscular dentist, you just look up neuromuscular dentist. You can look up LVI. You can look up that's the Las Vegas Institute, as well as ICMO. I have no idea what that, I can't remember. Probably occlusion, something or other.
So but, functional dentist, that's not a thing?
No, functional dentistry. Yeah, functional dentistry, that's another one. They have all these terms, right?
Okay.
So you can look these up, but I do highly recommend. I found one that's an hour away I drive an hour to go to my dentist one way, because I found a guy that's in my state and I trust him. He came and presented at our office on his work, talked about all that, closing down of the jaw, airway, all that stuff, and how the neck can be impacted and impacted vice versa. And I think these guys are onto something. I mean, it's like upper cervical chiropractic care and chiropractic care in general. I think, we are aware of a piece of what creates health in the body. And we need to share that with other practitioners. And I think these people are onto something as well. What creates health in the body? Better airway, better bite, better body.
Absolutely. One last thing I actually wanted to bring up, because I think it's something I think about often. We were talking about the adaptation process of potentially the joint from correcting the craniocervical junction. And actually coming back to the research that we did with the safety study and showing the symptomatic reactions, right? People have symptomatic reactions, but it poses the question, why would we have symptomatic reactions when we're correcting a biomechanical problem in the spine? And I think it comes back to we're going against the adaptations that our body's been doing in general. Yeah. So and I've experienced this for me. I mean, I'm obviously a NUCA chiropractor. I'm an upper cervical chiropractor because of what it's done for my health. Mm-hmm. However, through all of the process and all of the care, things would pop up from the care that I didn't have before. And it's the only thing you can think of. It's like, well, wow, my body's working through some sort of adaptation. A good friend of ours, a colleague of ours, Tron Malachowski, he told me he said he had some sort of pain in his thoracic spine, like his upper back, for like 6 months after he initiated consistent, upper cervical chiropractic care. But after the 6 months was gone, it was done. It was gone. It's never been back. And it's just like, okay, well, something shifted, the joints were functioning differently, the muscle was pulling when it wasn't before. There's these adaptation processes. And I think an important point with all this is for patients to understand that that's a possibility. And it's not a side effect as like your traditional side effect of taking a medication.
Right.
A side effect of headaches, taking a medication means there's something chemically going on that's causing a headache.
Well, it comes down to what is health and what is not health, right? Sick care, healthcare, right? So when you talk about symptoms can be good and bad, right? Like they're signals.
Symptoms aren't comfortable,
right?
But you have to understand the symptom and what it is. A fever. Right. Is a fever comfortable? No. Is it good? Yes. Do you have to watch it and make sure it doesn't go too high? Yes. Right? So it's, and like most things, it's not just black and white. It's not just, oh, there's pain. That's bad. Let's stop that pain.
But
right?
But that's what we've been brainwashed to believe.
Well, and that's what we've grown up with. So I mean, we've had to deal with that. Anyway, I thought that was an important point for people to understand.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, so again, just to conclude the research here, the researchers found that there was a correlation between a subject's craniocervical junction misalignment and the generation of occlusive forces into maximum bite. And so the proposed mechanism is that in this paper is that the head and neck position change the biomechanics of the bite. So it's a good paper, at least for our community, to start the conversation, to say, yes, there is a link, and to do more, to do more research. Do you know of any research on TMJ or TMD in regards to kind of pain and things like in the upper cervical world that we could review?
Yeah, I mean, those would be more in that Dr. McCoy's upper cervical journal. And there was actually Dr. Chris Chapman. He does a lot of work. So if you really want to dive into it, Chris Chapman, he's got a paper. I forget. He was an Indian guy, and it came out a couple of years ago. But another paper similar to Dr. Scholten's paper. I think his had more to do with airway stuff. So that might be a good paper to look up. And I'm sure in Dr. McCoy's journal, there's a lot of other TM stuff. So
cool.
Sure, it's there. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Doc. Well, I think that's it. Appreciate your time as always.
Yep. Thank you.
Awesome. We'll see you soon.
All righty.
Okay, that's it for this episode. So what did you learn that fascinated you or surprised you about the research today? Join or start the conversation in the comments below. Hey, thanks so much for watching. To watch more of our research shows, click or tap the screen right there. To subscribe to the channel, click or tap the screen right there. Until next time, I'm Dr. Kevin Leach with the Upper Cervical Chiropractic Research Show, bringing awareness to conservative primary spine care, upper cervical chiropractic care, and traditional chiropractic. Until next time, take care and take care of your spine. It's the only one you'll ever have.